This is the Allman Report. Coming up, blockbuster developments in the Missouri governor's race. A new contender is in the studio. I found a way for you to be your own investigator of lenient judges. I'll have that a little later. And the public says it's not ready to play ball on a new stadium. The Allman Report starts right now.
From the ABC St. Louis studios, this is the Allman Report.
Hello and welcome to the program. A new candidate in the race for Missouri governor, Republican State Auditor Tom Schweich, announcing today in a fiery speech that he's in it to win it. Tom Schweich, congratulations on entering into the fray. You're a fighter and you're not pulling any punches in this race.
No, you can't tiptoe around corruption, Jamie. You got to just stomp it out.
Corruption?
Yeah.
And you're naming names and everything.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's no secret that Jefferson City has a lot of special interests, a lot of consultants exert a lot of power, a lot of individual contributors exert a lot of power over there. And my campaign is about rooting out the corruption so that we can then have clean legislation in the areas of education and economic development.
Now, are you talking about your opponents or in general just corruption in Jefferson City? Who are you talking about
Pretty
here?
much both, yeah. I mean, I think that Chris Koster's obviously been exposed recently by the New York Times as having some serious corruption problems. I think the fact that the Hanaway candidacy is almost completely funded by one person is very problematic because it gives that person too much influence over the governor's mansion. And so, yeah. And I've done a lot of audits, and I've talked to you about them all around the state. We found over 30 public officials engaged in embezzlement since I've been auditor. You see it everywhere, and the first thing I'm going to do is clean up Jefferson City and the rest of the state, and then that allows us an even playing field where we can get good legislation passed that's in the interest of the people of Missouri rather than special interests.
And I assume at some point during the debates and that kind of thing, Catherine Hanaway and Chris Koster will all have time to defend themselves against whatever you might be saying about them. But in general, though, do you believe that this is the right time for a candidacy like yours? Because people are really kind of fed up. People know the government really is not living or operating like they have to operate. And so it seems to me like you're striking at the right time in terms of the public mood.
Right. I think the public is sick of the influence peddling that goes on in government. It's everywhere, both in the federal and state and local government. And, you know, as auditor, I've audited almost every state agency, board, commission, city, county, school district. I see the corruption firsthand. So people have a right to be concerned. It's there. You can read it in the audit reports. You can see the people that have gone to jail as a result of the audits we've done, people that have lost their jobs for nepotism and stealing money and petty corruption and more serious corruption. You know, I think candidates are almost bought and sold these days in Missouri.
Now, do you think that is tied into the corruption you talk about is tied into the lack of courage on the part of some politicians to start addressing the tax code, addressing spending? Do you think it's all tied in there?
Absolutely. I mean, for example, I issued audits last year on 3 of the biggest tax credit programs in Missouri, and I'm not in favor of eliminating them like some people are, but I mean, there was obviously a lot of influence going on there to keep any changes from occurring in those programs because people were making a lot of money. And I identified ways we could save tens of millions of dollars. I identified ways we could save $10 million a year for our school districts if we had competitive bidding of bonds, for example. And the bond industry immediately went in there and killed that bill. This happens all the time, and you can even trace, in some cases, and we're going to be doing that, campaign contributions going in and legislation either dying or advancing based on those contributions.
Well, that seems to speak to what I think is a common theme now among people who are talking about politics and talking about spending. We keep having the government, sometimes it's Republicans, a lot of times it's Democrats, who come to us and say, we need more money for this, we need more money for this, we need to tax this, we need to increase taxes. And you're pointing out, even through your audits, you've discovered that actually the money's there, it's just not being spent properly or being prioritized properly.
Well, the perfect example is the audit that we talked about yesterday on the air, which was I was looking at the various planes that the state has, 19 planes, and every agency that has one says they have to have them. I pointed out they're completely underutilized. Absolutely, they could be sold. You could consolidate the people working on the planes, for example, the mechanics and the like, and nobody wants to do it. They all want their little fiefdom. They all want to protect that. where we could save millions of dollars right there. And why I need to move on from being auditor to governor is I can point these things out as auditor. If somebody's a criminal, I can usually find a way to get them indicted through a local prosecutor. But you really have to take control of the reins of state government to effectuate the kind of changes I want to do.
Is name recognition kind of passe these days?
Well, no, I think you need name ID. I mean, I was just reelected with 73% of the vote. That's the largest percentage that any statewide official has ever gotten in the history of the state. I carried all 114 counties and the city of St. Louis. That's never been done before. So I think my name ID is getting pretty good.
You're a fighter. It'll be fun to watch at the very least.
Well, I'm excited about it because we need to have this debate. I mean, even if there's a primary, and obviously there'll be a general election fight, but this debate has to come out into the open because people try to sweep it under the rug all the time. And what I've seen as auditors, the only way we can function better as a state, we rank very low in economic development, we rank very low in education, and a lot of that's because we can't get good legislation through due to all the special interests and the influence peddling that goes on in Jefferson City and elsewhere in the state.
Well, as I have told every other candidate, you will always be welcome here whenever you need to speak to the people and the Allman Report viewers. So we appreciate you joining us today, Tom Schweich.
Thank you. Well, you're good at pointing out problems, so we'll work well together.
Thank you very much.
You.
I appreciate it very much. All right, still to come, another lenient judge called out, and Reverend Larry Rice weighs in on the city's plans to tear down more homeless camps. But first, your national headlines.
If you want to connect with the Allman Report online, visit us on Facebook or stop by our website, abcstlouis.com. Drop us a line or tell us what you think at #Allman Report.
Hey, welcome back. And coming up in just a few secs, I'm going to bust another judge and teach you how you can be your own investigator. But first, let's roll the Allman Report newsreel. Taxpayers appear totally not interested in paying for a new dome. A poll conducted by the Missouri Alliance for Freedom showing 70% of those asked about using tax dollars to build a new stadium say not a good idea. The Ferguson Commission, appointed by Missouri Governor Jay Nixon, coming under fire for hiring 3 consulting firms to help them get up and running. The problem is state law requires competitive bidding for any expenditures of $3,000. So these guys have hired a PR firm and a communications firm, $35,000, and now must account because they are in violation of state law. St. Louis County Police are in the process of shopping for body cameras for their officers, but Police Chief John Belmar says they're not going to rush into it and get a bunch of bids too. Meanwhile, Missouri's Attorney General saying police should wear body cameras more frequently, but the public and the media shouldn't have unfettered access to these recordings. Chris Koster saying there will be concerns about individual privacy, and that will have to all be balanced. St. Louis Mayor Francis Slay now in favor of a civilian review board for police. He says the Michael Brown case convinced him it is needed. A proposed 7-member civilian oversight board currently being considered by the City Board of Aldermen. Citing health and safety concerns, the city of St. Louis planning to tear down another homeless camp downtown. About 20 people living in 21 tents on vacant land. That is essentially the first thing motorists see as they cross the new Stan Musial Veterans Memorial Bridge. Now, Reverend Larry Rice saying this is an attack on the homeless.
This is absolutely tragic. It's the ongoing hate crimes against the homeless that the city continues to carry out if it can't control the federal dollars. Instead of giving them an acre of ground somewhere else because they prefer to be outside, what they want to do is they want to destroy it. As they try to come up with funding for a billionaire so millionaires can come and watch football games, they're destroying those that have only this little place they can call their own.
Okay. Now, on to more fun with lenient judges. It busted up the quiet of downtown St. Louis on Sunday. Leandre Brown, accused of crashing a stolen car while being chased by police, all while allegedly carrying a sawed-off shotgun. Check this out. He was already on probation for a gun crime. He was given another chance by Circuit Judge Rex Burleson a while back, after he was convicted of unlawful use of a weapon. This is the kind of thing driving Police Chief Sam Dotson crazy.
What we have to see are outcomes in the courts that make our community safer. So when we arrest individuals, we have to have outcomes. Probation is not an outcome that's keeping our community safe right now. Law enforcement arrests people. That's our job. Somebody else has to put them in jail. Somebody else has to hold them accountable. I don't see the courts out on the streets right now.
Now, Judge Burleson really isn't exactly known for being a lightweight when it comes to sentencing, but I did find a cool way for you to find out which judges are a little too loose with their sentence. And it comes at the hands of the circuit attorney's handy-dandy court page. That's right. Jennifer Joyce has really done a great job. And you can search by judge or even by neighborhood or even by criminal to find out who is getting off easy and who isn't, and which judge is helping them. Yes, Jennifer Joyce doing a great job with this site. And on the site, they actually play a little game where you can look at each case very, very closely, and they say what we asked for and what they got. That's exactly what they say here. So they say, hey, in this case, they asked for 7 years for this guy, Cleve Lee Abbott, for armed criminal action, and Judge Margaret Neal gave him 3 years in the Missouri. She gave him half of what they wanted. You can find out all that stuff just on this website, searching by judge, searching by criminal, searching by neighborhood, by case, you name it, you got it. Now, tomorrow, I'm going to continue this fun with the look at two judges. They just happen to be actual twins. That's right. There's circuit judges who are twins, but they have very different ways of sentencing criminals. So I'll have that for you tomorrow. And also make sure you go on to the website. It's circuitattorney.org and click on the case information tab, yo. All right, coming up, the Allman Report weather, and we look at what the new candidate for Missouri governor really means for the upcoming 2016 shoot 'em out. Did you see that scrapper Tom Schweich earlier on the Allman Report program announcing that he is now running for governor? Well, now, folks, I have, well, my favorite tall drink of water and conservative, Stacy Washington. Stacy On The Right. How you doing?
I'm well, Jamie. Thanks for having me.
This should be very interesting. I even told Tom Schweich, I said, this ought to be, after interviewing him, this ought to be pretty fun. You've got Schweich, you've got Hanaway, you've got Chris Koster, so far.
So far.
Heard today that Bruner maybe was going to get in, but he's pretty much counted it out. We'll see. On to Schweich. How do you think this is going to change the dynamics of this race?
Well, first of all, he has Sam Fox, who has promised him an unlimited amount of dollars to fund his campaign, and he's not afraid to take it straight to the mat. So he and Catherine Hanaway are going to shred each other, and they're going to give Chris Koster every piece of information he needs to run against whoever comes out of this fight as the winner.
Yeah, well, it appears, though, I mean, Tom Schweich was talking about corruption, and I'm going to be naming names, and I think my opponents are corrupt. And I mean, he's really going to the mat here. And of course, while Sam Fox is supporting him, he's saying, well, Rex Sinkenfeld is supporting Catherine Hanaway, and heaven knows who's supporting Chris Koster. So he can't just simply roll on corruption alone, although we tied it, and I talked to him about this, tying the corruptive forces into the lack of action on tax code and reducing taxes and other things that extend to policy. So this should be an interesting fight.
Well, I'm interested to see how he takes his experience as auditor, where he has been very strong, and he's gotten a lot of results for the people of Missouri, saving money, exposing wasteful spending and corruption, and he's really put the fear of God, or the auditor, into a lot of people who were previously getting away with a lot of mayhem. So now, running for governor, he's going to have to apply that experience to that. It's a statewide, it's the boss of the entire state. And we've not had good leadership. We've had basically an empty chair and, you know, a lot of empty, really weird comments and weird press conferences and just a lot of failure from Governor Nixon. So he has a strong place to point to. Look at my record. Look what I could do as your governor. It's going to be interesting to see how Catherine Hanaway takes him on, since he doesn't really have a lot of, that I know of, background to kind of beat him over the head with. He's been successful.
Yeah, and Catherine Hanaway, though, has been too. I mean, it's interesting you have two people who kind of have these law enforcement or quasi-law enforcement backgrounds. He, of course, is the auditor. He can send people to jail if he wants to.
Right.
Catherine Hanaway has sent people to jail. She's got a judicial background as U.S. attorney and everything else.
Right.
And so this should be pretty interesting, because I know that Hanaway is not going to sit there and allow him to be able to call her corrupt and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's not going to happen that way.
Well, but she has had, a little bit of an issue with the Second Amendment in the past. I know she's on the right side of it now, but what is it's there, and it can be used against her. And I just don't see Schweich taking the Mitt Romney route and kind of playing it above the belt. He's going to hit her wherever he can in order to win. And although it's good to see a nice, strong primary, it's a little upsetting because look at what we have coming up against them. Whoever comes out of this fight and wins then goes up against Koster, who has proven to be the camouflage Don of politics. He turns into whatever he feels is the most popular thing at the time, which right now he feels is a Democrat.
Well, because he was once a Republican,
Yeah.
now a Democrat.
Shameful, really.
And it looks to me like Schweich is going to go after, if he makes it to the general, this whole ethics deal that was exposed by the New York Times. I know Chris Koster denies it, but it's still going to be a mess.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how Schweich exposes it, how he lays it out for the people of Missouri, because he has a history of digging in and really laying out a clear case for this is why this is wrong, this is why people should be prosecuted and go to jail. I know Chris Koster won't be prosecuted, but he's going to have to stand trial in the court of public opinion for the Missouri voters, and Schweich's the guy to do it.
It'll be great. I know you'll be on it. StacyOnTheRight.com is where we can find it. It's an awesome website, and you've been great on the Allman in the Morning show and your own show.
Thank you for having me
on Saturdays
on
at
the
5 o'clock on FM News Talk 97.1.
Yeah, that's been fun.
All right, well, great to have you.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you, Stacy. Appreciate it very much. All right, still to come, my final word on the public saying no to a new stadium.
If you want to connect with the Allman Report online, visit us on Facebook or stop by our website at abccstlouis.com. Drop us a line or tell us what you think at #Allman Report.
Hey, here's what's trending out there on the interwebs. We love to call this the trend line. Yeah, Google's lightning-fast internet won't be coming to St. Louis after all. Google Fiber announcing the new cities that'll get the internet that's about 100 times faster than cable internet. Kansas City was one of the first cities to get it a few years back, but we're not getting it here. Some internet experts noticed that St. Louis was the focus of hacker attacks this morning. For some reason, as you can see on this special site that tracks the hackers, Chinese and Russian hackers focused mostly on servers here today. Don't know what the end result exactly was from that. A wrecking ball taking down the last of St. Louis's high-rise housing projects. This was put on Instagram late yesterday. The Blumeyer building downtown being torn down to reverse decades of failed public housing programs. A hockey great is leaving the ice and moving to the front office right here, y'all. Devils great Martin Brodeur announcing his retirement. He'll be taking a job here in St. Louis with the Blues. And finally, everybody, some culture for you on today's trend line. The Repertory Theater over at Webster University has a new play coming in 2 weeks. Posted these behind-the-scenes photos today. It's called The Webster Boy. And opening night is 2 weeks from today. Not the Lindbergh boy, Steve. It's the Webster boy. And now for the final word. Hey, you saw the same poll I did. Missourians get pretty crabby when they're asked about putting up money for a brand new football stadium. 70% of those asked said, not a chance. You know, one thing politicians and civic leaders don't seem to get is that taxpayers are just kind of getting tired of building things for them, knowing they won't be the ones in the skybox if they can afford tickets at all. It's funny, but it seems like some of the powers that be are like, oh, the show me state. Oh, ha, ha, ha. The folks are just kidding about that show me stuff. No, we're not. We're not kidding about show me. People in the show me state clearly haven't been shown much for their investments in stadiums and other things like shopping centers. So whether it be outright raids on the Treasury or use of TIFs, people are just not into being tapped for the extras these days. And in the case of saving football here, they apparently don't want to pay for another concrete Super Bowl. I will annoy you even more on the radio tomorrow for Allman in the Morning on FM News Talk 97.1 from 5 to 9. And of course, we'll see you back here weeknights, every day, 5 and 10. See ya.